Hi, I'm Bob Simmons. A few weeks ago, a friend of mine sent me a link to a website about the small house movement in the United States. It wasn't something that I knew very much about, so I decided, well, let's check it out. So join me now. There are a lot of people in Central Texas who seem to know quite a bit about it. We're going down to see Brad Cattell in Luling at Tiny Texas Houses, one of the leading advocates of the tiny house movement. And we're going to see what they're going to do today. I think they're going to be moving a house. He's going to tell us a little bit about what it is they do, why they do it, and why you should be interested, especially if you're in the market for downsizing your life and your house and your, what do we call it, that carbon footprint thing. It's sort of cap and trade on a personal level, I guess. So here we go. Zoom, zoom down the road to Luling, Texas. You'll find out you done lost your blame, and this golden rocket is rolling my blues away. He seemed to know you'd done me wrong. I was feeling low.
So when the tiny house movement started, I was inspired by the fact that I thought I could build something that was all salvage, and didn't know I could do it at that point. But effectively, that was what the whole demonstration was, all the prototypes, and also changing proportions and downsizing everything to tiny. People in tiny houses are happier because they don't have the responsibility of the insurance, the taxes, the maintenance, the cleaning. So in the process of going through this, my perspective is very simple. I'm using 99% pure salvage. It is materials that were harvested in America, whether it was the ore that was mined to make the tub, for example. How much ore does it take to make a cast iron tub, and then smelt it down, form the tub in a furnace, take it out, coat it with glazing at 2200 degrees, get the porcelain to melt on the surface of it, right, and then transport it from wherever it was made in Pennsylvania or something down to Texas in the 1900s, early 1900s. That amount of energy right there that's captured in that one item is enough to fuel this house for the next 10 years. So I'm doing a sub-zero carbon footprint house. All the resources in a new house now are pretty much resources that are being extracted out of the planet. We know we have a finite number of resources, and we know the price of extracting those resources is our environment. The environmental damage, the damage to the people, and there is no exception to this for the most part. If you cut a tree down, the tree is gone. That's the damage, that's the cost of that house. We've already destroyed the creeks and the lakes and the forest. Let's just go pick those up again and use them again and again and again. These were actually out of a church in East Austin, dating into the late 1800s. And these are single pieces of 16.5-inch wide longleaf pine, not a single knot in the whole length of them. Because the problem we have now is we build houses that start dissolving in 15 years, so the maintenance costs of 15 years are equal to the payment.
The planned obsolescence.
Planned obsolescence, and it's a shame. Built-in obsolescence has destroyed American culture as we know, American pride. How can you be proud of a product that you built that's designed to break in 5 years or less? Frankly, nowadays, what we're building nowadays, there's nothing to salvage. I wouldn't go in for the sheetrock, it's hazardous waste. The concrete, the fiberglass is carcinogenic. And so the point is, instead of cutting down a new tree that's speed grown, that's worthless, it doesn't hold a nail, it rots quickly, it sucks in humidity.
Try doing that with Home Depot bought 3/4 round over.
The idea is, why would you want to use that when you've got an alternative available, and you've got an alternative available virtually for free? Why would we possibly want to go and throw that treasure away when it's sitting here all around, all that labor and all those beautiful trees? So the salvage mining is the first thing. You teach people how to get their resources for nothing other than human energy. And then the next step is to teach people how to salvage build, which is to build out of virtually nothing other than the human energy and a few pieces and parts you have to buy, and the very basic tools.
You know, it's really not rocket science. In fact, I do this workshop teaching people how to build their own houses. And if you can build a doghouse, essentially you can build a house for yourself, because it's still the same number of corners, same principles. And it's not easy, but it's the greatest challenge because it's so rewarding.
If you can build a doghouse, yes, you can build a house. It's going to be on a larger scale, larger sticks of lumber, but same concepts. Hi, I'm Tim Ald, and I've been working at TTH for 1.5 years. I started Coming in as a carpenter, learning all the trade from carpentry through a lot of the different skills needed to build one of these things.
Tim, do you live out here too? Do you live in one of the tiny Texas houses?
I don't yet. I'm in the process of salvaging all the material, and I'm getting ready to start building, and Heath and Nicole and my girlfriend and a few other hands are looking to help me build mine in return for me helping them build theirs when it's their time. So
okay,
we've got a lot of people on board that we all want to help each other and go through this learning process, and so it'll be really excited.
I came here with no prior knowledge to any construction work, anything, so I am a noob at all this, but I'm learning slowly and figuring things out, so it's exciting.
Okay, here we go. See, now this really looks pretty good here.
Yeah.
The stair
from nowhere.
Right, the stairs to nowhere. There we are. That's really beautiful piece of work, though. Nice cabinetry.
And it's all scrap.
Wow. Did you build that?
Carlos built this.
Carlos.
Brad was part of the design on that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it's something that we're looking to have in a kit to where anybody can learn to build it.
What?
The package plans and the wood set up to where.
Well, what you really love is the alternating steps, of course, which
yeah, it
is
allows you to go twice the distance and half the space.
Right. Well, what if you are considering downsizing? One of the first things you have to remember about going small is that you're concentrating both energy and materials. Yes, it'll be cheaper to live in once you get where you're going, but getting there isn't necessarily going to be cheaper or easier.
You got an electrical panel box out there. Even if this house were 1,000 square foot, it's the same size panel box.
Right.
So my base costs are going to be the same, but it's in a smaller space. My savings comes out in the long run is you'll spend more money on the short run on this, but this low maintenance, the 100-year life, the portability, the healthiness of it, the fact that it's not going to deteriorate, a lower maintenance factor.
So these houses are actually built to put on a truck and take somewhere.
Absolutely. They're designed to be delivered 3 of them to the Badlands in North Dakota. I'll dare say we're probably the only home builder in the state of Texas that's ever delivered houses to North Dakota. Unfortunately, on the con side, for anybody arguing against it, you're giving up space. But when you walk in our house, because of the wood and because of the way the lines flow of the wood and the energy of the house, nobody's ever walked in my houses after they have been through them and said they were claustrophobic. There's something about the expansiveness of the wood or the lines, the energy. I'm not sure what exactly it is, but I know unequivocally that people feel my houses in such a way that they grow. I don't know how to better describe it, but people all the time have seen our pictures and they come in and they just can't imagine the size of their walk-in closet being something they could live in. And then once they've stood in it, they fully understand it, they can feel it, they can see it, and it changes people's perspective on space. Most of the world lives in spaces like this. They raise families in 300 or 400 square foot, families of 4 or 5. It is only in the United States that we have this distorted perception of space, that you have to have more to be happier, when in fact less seems to make people happier.
The ultimate challenge, I think, in living small in the grand scale is public perception, because we've been told so long that bigger is better. You know, the bigger the house, the more prestige it connotes. You know, the funny thing being that the ultimate symbol of luxury is a debtor's prison. So I'm not a big fan of working the rest of my life just to symbolize luxury.
The things that I thought were important and that I would use in my everyday life, I'm finding maybe they're not. Maybe I don't need, you know, all of these books at once.
All right, now you got involved with this through writing an essay, is that right? Is that how it...
That's right. Yeah. I won a house by writing a 300-word essay. What's your shade of green? At first glance, this house is a rare beauty. Look a bit closer, and it's a mystery. Zoom in once more, and it's a model for your own creativity. This house inspires me to dig out the hammer and power tools and begin to create my own tiny home. My house is 10 by 12, so it's 120 square foot footprint. And then it has probably an extra 100 square feet upstairs. So this is just right for me. Of course, if I were much taller, I might feel more cramped.
Right.
You know, there's, this is about 6 6 feet 8 inches, I think. So if, you know, for someone who's taller, this will feel cramped. But, you know, for me, this is exactly perfect. I think of it as my little doll house, and it's exactly right for me. I think that if you were to add any more people, probably a little bigger. And once again, this is the smallest footprint that they do make, so that would make sense that it would be best for one person.
The essay contest that we just had inspired me because I heard from all these people across the country that are already inspired, that are already switching, that are already downsizing, that are already tearing things down and building stuff out of them. And this is inspiring me. I've been recharged to a level I never expected in the last few months because I'd about given up hope that people were going to come on and see it. I believe we can do it. I believe that once people are empowered, once they are incentivized, once they are given back hope, and they believe they can make that difference. In Americans, you have the most powerful, most incredible force in each individual.
This tiny house thing is really growing. People are becoming very interested in living more efficiently and without a lot of extra space.
For example, I weatherize my windows,
Right.
but I don't want them to be airtight. I'm one of the old-fashioned guys that believes in breathing air.
Oh, yeah, the house,
Okay?
houses should breathe.
Houses should breathe. So I over-insulate to compensate for the fact that my house is going to breathe air. And also, our houses are built to draw air and draft because in the old days we were smart. We didn't have electricity, so we had to depend on Mother Nature to do it. So we open our air windows at the bottom. We use the Venturi effect, which cools the air as it comes through, compresses it as it expands, it vents out the hot air out the loft windows. And in all of our houses, the loft windows open. So our houses will self-ventilate 10 months out of the year. For heating, in one case, the couple is living in it. They put a plug in the wall, oil radiator heater at 110, and kept it on medium, except when they cooked dinner, they had to turn it off because it got too hot in the house.
Right.
And this is with a couple with a child living in a house full time. And effectively, the refrigerator and the body heat is enough to keep the house warm most of the time.
The things that I would think is that build out of as much salvage as you can. Use the new technologies that are available with the wraps and the underlayments and the insulations that make these things very efficient. Taking the old growth lumber, partnering it with those technologies, and then adding the renewables for your energy.
So you've got the charm of an antique with all the insulation and air tightness that modern efforts can provide.
Yes, not to mention it's going to be pretty much toxin free, won't outgas or anything. It's going to stop all bugs and all rodents from getting in, as well as the air movement through there, which is your biggest loss normally for heat. This is a new design, and it's going to have a full bath, little kitchenette in it, huge bookcase area, and a full screened-in back porch. It'll be insulated, and effectively this could be somebody's residence if they chose to. This is for a gentleman who's got early onset Parkinson's.
I see.
And so I'm going to have a drop-down loft bed. So you just come over here to this wall, and we're going to turn the crank, and this bed is going to come down out of the ceiling and sit right down here on the floor, so it's got the drawers and everything built into it. And then in the morning, if you want it to go up, you just basically going to be able to crank it up, and then their desk is there. Both each have their own desk and the entertainment center in the middle. And then over here they'll have another whole loft, which will allow them to go and have their son or their daughter visit and stay.
So you do a lot of custom design for
everything I do is custom. So it gives you full privacy and a queen size bed up here, a closet up here.
Right.
It's going to have a desk over here for doing your bills. You can have a vanity or a little wardrobe over here.
Will there be a little guardrail along here?
Yes,
as well?
guardrail there open, and over here closed. This is using, one of my trademarks is roofing shingles. These are 1880s circa roofing shingles. Each one interlocks, so what you're seeing is hail damage all over the edges. A lot going on here that people don't understand, but it makes this house dramatically stronger.
Right.
And then there's a steel cable, galvanized steel cable goes all the way up to the top of the house and down to the other side, so you can actually strap down to the footings. I do that because 5 days before my original grand opening, when I thought I knew what I was doing, a tornado passed through Eagle Pass and Seguin. Just flipped us here.
I understand that. I'm from Wichita Falls. So.
Well, I didn't realize at the time that $15,000 wasn't, 15,000 pounds was not a whole bunch of weight to a tornado.
Right.
And so one of the houses, the red one out there, was actually picked up in the air and dropped 15 feet over on the edge of the concrete. I broke one pane of glass in the loft, and other than that, I had 4 roof rafters separate from the top plate about 1 inch, so I had to knock those back down later. Out of 6 houses, I only broke 3 panes of glass, and all of them got knocked off their piers, and literally one of them got slid across the ground. 20 feet, had all the beams ripped off the bottom of it. So now I build them where we have cables run all the way through them. I build the bottom so you can literally drag my houses across the ground. You can't rip the beams off the bottom of them anymore, because the way we build them is entirely different than anybody else in the United States. You can now jack my house up at the 4 corners and it won't bend. You can lift it up on a crane with 2 straps and it won't bend. So what it's done is it's allowed us to build a much better house that you can transport, all out of wood, no steel.
It's one thing to talk about downsizing our habitat or living smaller, but there's a whole other message that Brad Cattell wants to spread, and that is the one about salvage. How to use old materials that are good enough for another couple of 100 years in a project. Let's go join a teardown that's in progress.
Oh, I have my grandson, and he's not in town. He said, but he'll call you tomorrow.
Okay, we'll clean tomorrow morning, and then we'll bring the big trailer out and start loading it up. We got good weather still sticking with us, okay? All right. Save all the nails, remember? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, good. These nails, for example, we're talking about all the square nails, we're saving all of them. And when you look at the differences on square nails, stamped versus cast is always, you know, an indication of the change in the period. So this was later 1800s because it's actually stamped, cut nails, as opposed to cast. The thing you're seeing here with the lath, all this lath is actually beautiful, gorgeous wood that we're going to retrieve and save, even though it looks like it's going to be porcupine when we're done. But the shingles, we can actually get off of here and be able to reuse a lot of the shingle, like on our gable ends. A gable end on a house, you'll see some back at the shop that are all done with shingles. We can reuse these old shingles again as well.
Well, is that a pretty typical house?
That's actually a junker.
Oh, really?
That's actually a junker house, but the wood inside of it was so good that couldn't resist it. Plus the story. Great people. We know that, you know, that was his. He actually helped build a lot of that himself, and he's 75, and he was a kid, and he was already there. It's just been add-ons over his life, so you get a lot of the history with it, which I think is really fun. And otherwise, it would have been burned.
Yeah.
Torn down and burned. And it's like, my goodness, that's the fun part, is that we just managed to save probably effectively 1 or 2 big trees.
Can be reused.
Are you part of the deconstruction team too?
A little bit of all of it right now. I'm learning how to tear down houses, salvage everything, as well as build my own. So.
Oh, I see. So they've got you in here. Are you an apprentice or?
Yeah, just starting about 2 weeks ago. It's pretty much apprenticing me out to anyone, everyone around here that wants to keep me. So I'm learning.
A tree that grew in the woods 300 years ago becomes a home again and again and again. So the life of that tree was the 300 years it started with, but it was the 350 or 400 years afterwards that it provided home, comfort, and made families possible.
Is gigantic. I mean, this house is gigantic.
It really
the
is.
Porch,
Well, this is really great.
the porch adds a couple 100 square feet to it easily.
Absolutely.
And then if they decide to screen in their porch, then that's usable.
Is this porch going to be a pull-off porch so that it can go down the road?
Yeah, it absolutely will. What will happen is this bottom half will come off and be shipped separately.
getting the trailer ready, folks, for, this isn't exactly getting an Airstream and attaching it to the family car. This is somewhat more involved, I think, with a homemade trailer, no less. That's a great, it looks like you just found regular structural steel here.
Structural steel, I-beams, all fabricated and engineered, and it's taken all 60 houses so far, up to 33 feet in length, almost 20,000 pounds.
That's great. That's wonderful. And probably cost you a lot less than it would.
A lot less than buying it new, I'll tell you that much.
So you're not just recycling houses here, it looks like. You're recycling
tools and trailers and anything and everything.
There it is, folks. Used stuff. Hey, don't throw away that old I-beam. Because Brad Cattell could use it.
We got 4 house jacks here, and what we do is we put a block in between the jack and the siding, because when we start going up, it'll want to tilt in a little bit and we can scuff up our siding. So what we're going to do is we're going to simultaneously at the same time, we're going to crank this house up to where the trailer will be able to slide underneath it, and we'll be able to remove those center piers that we have there for now. 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm at 34 and a half. We're 33 still.
By the next day, this house had been moved to its new home next to a nice pond. The crew set the piers, leveled the home, and in about 4 hours, it was ready for its new owners. Down she comes. Easy does it. Once in place, this tiny Texas house looks like it could have been there for 150 years. All this house needs now are a few more just like it nearby.
But the whole idea is we start forming our little tiny communities, which are our like-minded support groups. The idea, my vision, is that we're going to start moving into compounds, and actually we only want a tiny house. We have a common house in the middle that has the kitchen, the dining area, they get together, we play games, we quilt, or we talk, or we dominoes, or whatever. And then we go back out to our tiny little houses. So you put 10 houses on an acre, and you have the common house in the middle. And I only need a little refrigerator and a little cooktop in my place, and a bathroom, and a little teeny living room and a bedroom.
Same kind of setups where you've got these communal living, even if it's 4 separate structures that make one community, family community, that you have a master suite for the parents, the kids have their own little 12 by 12, you've got the common house in the middle.
Yeah, I imagine maybe someday the McMansions, the overabundance of McMansions will turn into the shared houses, and we'll build villages of tiny houses in the backyards.
Oh, Austin, I can't do that. I can't build a 200 square foot house in Austin. I can't put 5 on one lot.
Right.
I made 5 little 250 square footers. That's 1,250 square foot. Instead of a McMansion, I put 5 houses, and now I got 5 people living there, 1 car being shared, some bicycles. Can't do it in Austin. That's multifamily.
Probably the biggest obstacle to people living small is building code. Set up primarily by the housing and insurance industries. The codes currently prescribe how much house we have to buy, so there's a minimum size. And ultimately that gets in the way of those of us who really want to live small and simply and not be beholden to the banks and these industries.
Which means you got to break away from building code. Building code is designed around corporations, basically feeding you the stuff they want you to use. So we make sheets of sheetrock in 8 foot, so everything walls are 8 foot. Or we're forced to use double pane insulated glass, in spite of the fact that it fogs up every 12 years and it's a complete replacement. You can't just fix a piece of glass. You have to take the vinyl out and everything. It means you have to use more vinyl, more oil products, and you have to use more heat to make more glass. And I found that to be self-defeating. If you're trying to create a self-sustaining house, why would you want to have components that have to be replaced all the time? But the corporations control the government. The government says these resources cannot be used to build new construction with. You have to go to Home Depot. You have to go to Lowe's. You have to go to Temple Inland and Weyerhaeuser and get new resources that are being taken from the planet instead of picking up these resources that are sitting right here and reusing them. That is not conserving any energy, folks. When you have to heat up sand and turn it into glass and use oil products to put a perimeter around it and guarantee you're going to swap it out again, there's no conservation here. This is forced waste. It's wrong. It should be illegal.
The day I found out living small is illegal was the day I decided I had to live small. It just seems so corrupt that the industry and state governments dictate how much house we have to buy.
All this can change using nothing more than salvage that's available, already distributed across the entire country, waiting for humans to do nothing more than come over and take it apart and reuse it. I'm offering up one of many peaceful forms of resolution. It's a revolution in the form of individuals making the decision to no longer be part of the problem. It's a choice we have to make. Peaceful revolution is possible because we choose simply to not participate in the problem, and therefore the problem can go away.
This generation, you know, it's funny because I'm looking to do a house project myself, and I want to title it Homesteaders for Generation XYZ. You've got 3 different generations after the baby boomers: the X generation, which was my parents, that the children of the baby boomers that have been taught by baby boomers that this is the kind of life you need to go after. Move to the big city, get that nice job with all those benefits and that cushion, and spend it all on the nice car and the big house and all the extra toys. And then you've got the kids of these Generation X, Generation Y, that are trying to learn that life as well in an understimulated economy with not enough job creation for the amount of people that are now highly educated and need to pay off that debt and make a living. And I'm part of that Generation Y, and I'm kind of seeing that there's so many other ways that are technologies and ways of living that we're kind of working backwards towards.
We have to take responsibility. We really do. And as a society, this is something that's simple. It's easy, it's at our fingertips, it requires no government aid, it requires no handouts. And the more people do, the more you empower them, the more they're going to want to do after that.